Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for tonight's important webinar on emergency preparedness and home accessibility. We are so glad you're here. Before we dive in, just a few quick housekeeping notes. This session is being recorded. Everyone is muted for the duration of the program, and we encourage you to use your Q&A feature if you have any questions along the way. Tonight's program is tailored for individuals and families living with ALS. Preparing for emergencies and ensuring that the home environment is safe and accessible can make a world of difference. From power outages to natural disasters, having a plan and the right support in place can help protect health and safety, reduce stress, and provide peace of mind. We are honored to have Elisa Brownlee with us this evening. Elisa is an assistive technology specialist with ALS United Mid-Atlantic and is certified in many areas with a mastery in home accessibility. She has been in the field of assistive technology for over 28 years. Elisa presents to a national and international audience, publishes and utilizes social media to increase awareness about ALS and the use of assistive technology. Her specialty areas are home adaptation, communication solutions, computer access, electronic aids for daily living for those living with ALS. Elisa is passionate about empowering individuals to feel safe and secure in their own homes. Today, Elisa will walk us through practical steps for creating an emergency plan tailored to your needs, tips for enhancing home accessibility, and resources you can tap into right away. We'll also leave time at the end of for your questions, so feel free to type them into the Q&A tab, and we will address them at the end of the program. With that, I'm thrilled to turn it over to Elisa. Elisa,
thank you, Joumana.
Thank you so much for being here. And
no problem, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak. The emergency part is at the end. So we're going to talk about, oh, look at that, an extra period right next to accessible, pardon me. We're going to talk about accessible home adaptations as well as emergency preparedness. My contact information is here. It will also be on the last slide. And as Joumana said, I've been around a long time. This is who I am and who's talking to you. I do talk about a number of different products, but I have no financial interest in the products I am discussing today. That's my disclaimer. So when it comes to home adaptations, due to the progressive nature of ALS, most diagnosed people will require some form of modification to their physical environment. That does not necessarily mean structural. It just means using the bathroom differently, maybe, or the adaptation of assistive technology to make your home more accessible. Adapting a living environment to meet the changing needs of ALS will become a necessity as the disease progresses. How much you may have to adapt your home, it may be minor, it could be major. However, in my career, I have had a number of people, but it's a small number of people do structural home modifications because it's expensive, it's time consuming, and it's not covered under insurance. So the cost, time, and daily upheaval, hold on for 1 second. Come on in, go ahead. Sorry, my hotel door is broken. So the cost, time, and daily upheaval of having structural modifications done to the home increases the emotional and financial burden of living with this disease. Assistive technology devices, as I mentioned, and we will be talking about it, can often be incorporated in lieu of costly or more permanent structural changes. I've been with 28 years with the ALS Association, but locally in the Philadelphia area, I've done many virtual assessments. And what we hear from people all the time is accessing guidance from a person knowledgeable in disease progression and safe mobility to identify potential physical barriers to key daily functions and to the range of possible modification in advance. And that will support the individual and the caregiver's safety. You're going to hear me use the word safety a lot. It can also decrease harm, maximize quality of life, as determined by those living with ALS and their caregivers. So we encourage people with this disease to get a virtual or a physical assessment of their home. You can do that by calling or emailing your care coordinator, your local care coordinator, and they can help you find access to a professional. But the objectives of this professional who's coming in, or the virtual visit, is to identify key safety and independence challenges for those diagnosed with ALS, to describe and offer visual aids on products to decrease client or caregiver risk of injury, again, safety. Discuss how incorporating assistive technology devices in lieu of structural changes can support a quality of life. So this professional would look at your house and look at your egress, and I should say your ingress, so your in and out, your bathrooms, your bedroom access, and dining and leisure. Sometimes that's important for you. And then other areas that an ALS person and their family would like to be addressed. Potential obstacles related to access and safety, along with possible equipment or modifications to support safety and quality of life, are addressed. And the evaluator will then share their screen if you're doing virtual, or will give you a report with the items that they have talked to you about. So potential outcomes of having your house assessed. So it supports your safety, your quality of life, and can potentially decrease harms associated with this disease. It's important to understand that modifications does not always require removing walls or adding an extension on your home. So the evaluator would hopefully give you various assistive technology devices that could be used in the home to make the house accessible. Again, to keep both the person with ALS and their caregiver safe. And you want them to incorporate cost-effective technology as the disease progresses, and maybe offer some customized solutions. But many families rely on a range of solutions to meet their needs, because the cost of modifying a home is expensive, right? These are probably, these are numbers that I plucked a couple of years ago. We're going to have to probably put a few more zeros or numbers in front of them, but an average like stair glide is, just for straight stairs, 3,000 to 5,000. A custom stair glide, one that would go up a curved staircase, you're talking 8,000 to 15,000. Grab bars, $300 each, for including installation, and ramps can be $2,000 to $20,000. So modifying a home is expensive. And when should you schedule a virtual assessment? As soon as possible. It's never too soon to know what your options are. Even if you don't need the structural or assistive technology devices now, knowing your options for the future is really important, because there's a lot of decision makings that come with the home. Housing worldwide has not been designed or constructed to accommodate the needs of disabled people in terms of safety, accessibility, independence, and location. Less than 3.5% of current single-family houses in the world have the most critically accessible features, which are zero-step entrances, single-floor living, wide hallways, wide doors, and accessible bathrooms. So the questions you need to ask yourself is my home accessible? And you might not know. So again, that goes back to getting a professional involved. And do you want to make permanent or temporary adaptations? Because we are unfortunately dealing with a progressive neuromuscular disease. And then, am I safe with these adaptations? Is my caregiver safe? Can I afford it? Because the Veterans Administration is the only organization that will reliably fund renovations. They have two different grants They have a housing grant, which is almost 120,000. And then they have what's called a HISA grant, HISA, and that is a grant for 6,800. And many of our folks will get their ramps through the HISA grant. It's a much more speedy grant than the housing grant. But of course, you have to be a veteran. And so your out-of-pocket expenses can be thousands. And if you put in addition, or you renovate your bathroom, or you upping your homeowner's insurance, will modifications increase or decrease my home value? There's multiple studies out there that people who have wood ramps on the front of their home do not get the resale value that they want, because it's considered a not necessary but permanent a fixture to the home unless the new homeowner removes it. And the question I get asked a lot, should I move? And that's such a personal decision. And we are, there are so many obstacles to that. Going back to the first line here about housing is not designed for people with disabilities. So people will say to me, well, I want to find a ranch, but then they find a ranch and then they need to spend 50,000 to make the bathroom accessible. Or they can't find a house at all, depending on where your market is. Or their interest rates keep going up. So there's multiple problems with moving. But in all honesty, some homes are just not accessible. That doesn't mean that the person moves. They might just decide not to leave their home because they can't get out. And the person with ALS and their medical decisions are crucial when it comes to home modification. If I have a person with ALS who comes to me and says, I am in this for the long haul, I want to be trached, I want to be vented, I want to live at home, then we're probably going to talk about permanent modifications, not temporary modifications. And so if that is the case, then there's all kinds of financial decisions. Do you want to put money into the home, or do you want to put money into the cost of care? Neither of which are covered. So our social workers often advise, if you're thinking about making a home modification, make a chart and say, okay, home modifications will cost this and cost of care will cost this. Because usually there is a point in the disease progression where the individual with ALS will say, I don't want my caregiver doing whatever. And that's when you're going to hire care, and know that hiring care is very expensive, $30, $40, $50 an hour. So you need to compare where do you want to spend your resources. And there's also a psychosocial component of modifying a home. Your home is your significant personal meaning. I've had people tell me, well, yeah, you're bringing ALS into my home. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I am, but I'm doing it for safety. I don't want you to fall. I don't want your caregiver to get injured. If your caregiver gets injured, they can't care for you. So clinicians and therapists, we want to strengthen the home as a place of personal and social meaning, but we also want to improve the safety and comfort for the person with ALS at the home. So it's important for all of us in the medical field to understand the relationship, the person-environmental relationship, the person's relationship to their home, and acknowledge that. Because people don't want to make change. I can't blame them. So we're constantly dealing with the disease that's constantly changing, and then we're constantly changing what you consider your castle, your home. So your relationship with your home has a history, it has future. I'm talking, I sometimes tell people you have to move this piece of furniture. Oh, but that was my grandmother's. It's been there since she died or whatever. I get it. So as much as people want things to be as normal as possible, when physical changes require a change in environment, unfortunately, that is what has to happen for safety. So the modifications might not be ideal aesthetically, and you might have to compromise. I always tell my families nothing is ideal. I mean, ideal would be having a house that's universal designed, that has all the features that you need, and you don't need to do anything, but that doesn't exist. So you need to compromise and recognize it's not ideal, but it will do. All right. So again, focus on the safety and consult with your variety of professionals. I'm sure it will not surprise the people on this call that falls can lead to negative outcomes and increased healthcare costs for any individual. However, the effects can be more devastating for someone diagnosed with ALS. So we have adverse outcomes associated with falls in this population include injury, hospital admission, loss of functional independence, inactivity, premature admission to nursing homes, morbidity, and mortality. So that's why I keep using that word safe or safety, because we want to prevent falls as much as we can. So when it comes to the home, the most common obstacles that we see are the width of the doors, thresholds, stairs. These are lovely stairs in this brand new home, but they're not accessible. Maneuvering space, and then of course, getting in and out of the house and bathroom accessibility. So this is a picture of a really narrow staircase. In order for any kind of stair glide, if that was even a consideration, you need 29 inches or more of space. So if you have too narrow of a staircase, you can't get a stair glide in, or a narrow doorway. Doorways, according to the ADA, and you don't need to go to ADA guidelines for your home, but optimally, it's a 32-inch doorway. Well, this is certainly not a 32-inch doorway, and look how high this one step is. So yes, many obstacles depending on the configuration of your home. And then when it comes to getting in and out of the home, not every home can accommodate a ramp. State law requires that the ramp end at the end here and can't get onto a public sidewalk. Well, there's no way to put a ramp here. Second floor living, obviously no ramp there. This is a row home in the city of Philadelphia, where I am based out of. We are considered the king of the row home, and Philadelphia law, just like California law, where this one was taken, that a ramp can't end on a public sidewalk. So the only option for people who live in a row home is to do a vertical platform lift. So just a little bit about ramping. Can your home accommodate a ramp? Do you own the home? And is there a homeowners association, which I'm going to talk about on the next slide? But the easiest way to remember the dimensions of a ramp is that for every inch of drop on a step, you need 1 foot of ramp. So in this country, the average cost of 1 foot of ramp is $300. So ramps are very expensive. Most of the time, our folks use modular ramps, which are steel or aluminum ramps that can be, put up in a matter of hours and removed in a matter of hours. But the average cost of 1 foot of that is $300. When it comes to homeowners associations, they are considered private entities. The ADA does not comply to them. The HOA is under no obligation to allow you to install a ramp or lift on the outside of your home. The inside, the garage, is allowed. However, I'll give you an example of a woman I'm dealing with in suburban Philadelphia. Her first floor is just the garage. Then second step, set of stairs to the second floor, which is the living area, another set of stairs to the third floor. Her only option is to put a vertical platform lift on the outside back deck. And the HOA said, absolutely not. And she tried to fight it, but there is nothing you can fight. They are private entities. The ADA does not comply. The only time that HOAs are required to comply with the ADA is for common areas. Like if you have a clubhouse, then yes, that needs to be accessible. In terms of renters' rights, most states follow the Fair Housing Act. So I did some Googling, and Illinois requires landlords to follow the Fair Housing Act, which includes provisions related to disability accommodations. And Illinois also follows the Human Rights Act, means that landlords make reasonable accommodations and modifications for tenants with disabilities. However, these landlords are generally not required to comply with the Americans with Disability Acts. So in Illinois, landlords are not generally required to pay for a ramp for a tenant with a disability, but they must allow the tenant to make reasonable modifications, including installing a ramp at the tenant's expense. If the building receives federal funds, the landlord may be required to cover the cost of modifications. So for example, Section 8 is a federal program. That's where the money comes from, but it's administered by local public housing. So if a Section 8 housing provider is renting out a house with steps to the entrance and the wheelchair user is a tenant, the provider must install a ramp if it's deemed a reasonable modification. But there's wiggle room. And I will give you a perfect example. My state of Pennsylvania follows the exact same thing that I just documented here for Illinois. And I was dealing with a landlord, and the tenant needed she needed a 47-foot ramp. It was huge. And he got out of it because he said it's not a reasonable accommodation because the ramp is going to interfere. It's a duplex. So it's going to interfere with my other tenant being able to enjoy their backyard because it's going to take over some of their backyard. And she tried to fight it and got nowhere because it was deemed an unreasonable modification. So I mentioned stair glides a little earlier. They're only safe with someone diagnosed with this disease as long as the individual has trunk support. What does that mean? It means that you're just sitting in a chair, in a desk chair or whatever. There are no lateral supports. There's no head support. So if you start to list over, your doctors and your therapists are going to tell you to stop using a stair glide. So it is a temporary intervention in the management of ALS. And if your stairs curve, if there's a landing, or if there's a landing here and then 2 steps, and then it doesn't matter. If they turn, curve, or have a landing, you need a custom stair glide. And they start around $8,000. Most of them go up to $15,000. And once you install a stair glide, and if you buy it outright, it's going to stay with the home unless you can find somebody with the exact configuration and measurements of your steps. Otherwise, it's going to stay with the home. With straight staircases, some stair glide companies will do rentals. Because this is a temporary intervention, you either buy it outright for $3,000 to $5,000, or you could pay a monthly rental fee on top of what they do as an installation and removal fee. But it can be removed when you're done with it. The other thing to know about stair glides is they go into the treads of the steps. They do not go into the wall. So if you're removing them, you're going to just have little holes in the steps. But I've had people in historic homes say, absolutely not. I am not putting in a stair glide because it will make holes in the steps. You can't necessarily see it with carpet, but on hardwood, yes, you could. So bathrooms. According to the National Institute of Aging and also the CDC, we know that over 80% of the falls that happen in this country happen in the bathroom. And of those that fell, 88% got a head injury. So bathroom safety is utmost. Things to know: don't do a transfer into the bathroom. Don't think I'm going to bring my power wheelchair in and transfer on to the toilet. That's not safe. You want to transfer onto a bathroom wheelchair and then get wheeled into the bathroom. So you transfer onto the rolling shower chair, which is also a bathroom wheelchair, in a larger room, and then go into the bathroom. Try to avoid the bathroom at night or when you're alone. If you're a male, you can use urinals or condom catheters. For women, there's a product called a PureWick. It's an external catheter system. I've had many of my male caregivers swear by this because they They can use this at night and they don't have to get their wife or their significant other out of bed, onto the rolling shower chair, and into the bathroom. So an external condom catheter for a male just looks like this. It's worn. And when it's done, the condom is rolled off and then the urine is collected in the bag. For females, this is a catheter and it's similar to the dentist catheter, okay? So you put between your legs as you start to urinate, it's sucking up all the urine and it's collecting it in the bottle here. That means you don't have to get up and leave your bed at night. Even during the day, I've had people use these. Also, I've had people use these who travel or doing a long car ride. So both of these devices, this on a plane can be a lifesaver because planes are not accessible for people with disabilities, and you don't have your wheelchair to get you into that little bathroom on the plane. In terms of bathrooms, the ideal bathroom is to have an open concept with a roll-in shower, but that requires structural changes if you don't have that. And the average cost of a bathroom remodel in this country is about $25,000, but I think I'm lowballing it. I've had several recent clients come to me with high 30s now, and these structural changes are not covered under insurance. So what do you do if you can't afford to do structural changes? You can incorporate assistive technology devices if it fits in your room. I understand. Bathrooms come in all sizes and shapes and configurations. So these are only ideas. Again, going to circle back why it's important to have a professional come out or virtually assess your home. But this is a sliding tub transfer bench, and the individual sits in there and it slides right in. This is a sliding tub transfer system. So this is that rolling shower chair that I told you. The bathroom wheelchair can go anywhere around the house. It's on wheels, and you lock it into these I don't even want to, rails. Thank you. And then you transfer the person in the chair. So you just push the chair into the bathtub. And this also has a shower unit. It's a little smaller, but it goes into a walk-in shower. You could use a ceiling lift system, which for those people that want to use a bidet and want to continue to use a bidet, it's important to understand that a rolling shower chair, because of the configuration of the chair, this is a seat that can't be removed. The nature of the seat will block the water from the bidet. So if you're using a rolling shower chair, you can't use your bidet. I've had many people say, I absolutely love my bidet. I am going to use my bidet. So the only way to do that is for your buttocks to be directly on the toilet seat. And that can only happen through a ceiling lift system or through going into the bathroom on a Hoyer lift. But you can see here, the Hoyer lift is much larger than a ceiling lift system. And you need room around the toilet for the Hoyer lift for those legs to go out, right? You also can't shower in a Hoyer lift because the legs are here. And say you were trying to get this person into the bathtub, you would turn that Hoyer around and the legs are just going to prevent anything. So you would need some kind of accessible shower. So the ceiling lift system can be an option, as well as a portable shower. So I have quick videos on, this is a ceiling lift system. Now this is considered a harness type system, and there's a harness under her legs here, right there. But it allows her to get her buttocks right on the toilet. This is a turnstile. So she can use the toilet and also use the bathtub in that sling or harness, sorry. And this is a portable shower. Let me just say this, there's 2 different portable showers on the market. The only difference is aesthetics, the way they look. They both operate the same.
Shower Bay is a portable, accessible shower designed for wheelchair users and others with mobility limitations. It quickly assembles in any room in the home without any tools or plumbing modifications.
That's a rolling shower chair.
Up the ramp backwards so that the front of their body faces the door.
So that's a portable shower. I want to do a quick overview on smart home technology because it enables you to have as much control of your home and does not cost thousands like it used to in the past. It's important to know smart home technology is not a covered item under medical insurance. And there may or may not be local help from other ALS organizations. So this is a quick video. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but this gentleman has ALS and he designed his accessible smart home, and I'm going to pray it plays. It played before. Let me see.
Sometime during the 1938 baseball season, New York Yankees All-Star Lou Gehrig, a record.
Are we supposed to hear anything, Elisa?
Yeah, it's not. It's playing on my end. Hold on.
We're not able to hear it.
Okay, hold on. Let me try this. Sorry, guys. Is that better,
Sometime
Joumana?
during the 1938 baseballs.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And New York Yankees All-Star Lou Gehrig, a record-setting symbol of durability, reported feeling unusually tired. The next year, on Gehrig's 36th birthday, doctors diagnosed him with a disease called ALS. 2 days later, he retired from baseball. Today, the cruel disease that takes the body but leaves the mind bears Gehrig's name. While doctors continue to work on an elusive cure, technology is making it easier for ALS patients, including one who is putting his considerable talent to work. NBC's Jolene Kent has our Sunday Spotlight.
When you enter the Leonard Florence Center for Living in Chelsea, Massachusetts, there's hope in the air.
Welcome to my home.
Pretty great. And it's Steve Sailing who's stirring it up. The Birkenstock-wearing former architect has ALS, diagnosed back in 2006.
I was told my life expectancy was between 3 and 5 years. I've always had a problem with authority. I questioned why I would die within 5 years if I choose to use all of the technology that is available to me.
Sailing believes the key to longevity is mobility. He already had a high-tech wheelchair, a computer to speak. It was the world around him that needed some engineering.
In a time when everyone depends on their smartphone and computer in the clouds, there is no excuse for leaving the disabled behind.
So Sailing, along with developer Barry Berman, got to work designing the first and only smart home so far for ALS patients.
It's pretty amazing.
The elevators are fully automated so that I can call the elevator. My computer sends a wireless signal to the automation server in the basement so that I can push the button like this.
There it goes. You've thought of everything.
Sailing uses this small silver dot on his glasses to control his onboard computer. Each time he wants to say something, it's a process, choosing letters one by one. His head movement is the last motor function he has left right now as ALS progresses.
It's possible in every bedroom in the house.
That's
I
an
can
automatic
open
door
my
opener.
Control the lights, the window shade, the thermostat, the TV, and home theater, and any electrical device.
Just like the elevator, the electronics in his bedroom are connected so they can be controlled by Steve on his computer or a smartphone.
All of this technology means that I have a level of independence previously unheard of for people like me.
Currently, 30 people with
So that's what Steve did with his smart home technology. So how do you establish a smart home? Well, you can use smart speakers. You can use an Amazon Echo, a Google Home. If you have a communication device, you do have built-in environmental control units that are built into your communication device. And then you can also order a specialized system. I don't see a lot of people doing that anymore because they're more costly than using a smart speaker. And it's important to know that you can still use your Amazon Echo or your Google Home, even if you verbally can't communicate. The smart speakers are listening to commands. They are not listening to what voice is coming out. So you can type into your communication device, your phone, if that's what you're using for communication. Alexa, open the front door. And if I have a smart lock on there, she's going to open the door for me. Alexa, lock the door. And so again, doesn't matter. I can type it out or I can verbally say it. Having a smart home can be good for your safety. Maybe cameras can monitor the interior of your home, make sure you haven't fallen and nobody knows about it. They're extremely convenient. They're very easy to use anymore. And it also can save energy if that's what you're considering. So you have smart speakers, you have your Amazon Alexa, you have Google Home, Apple HomePod, again, your built-in ECU on your communication device. There are also apps for your smart home, your tablet there are apps for your smartphone or your tablet to turn your home into a smart home. And then there are dedicated environmental control devices. Again, I don't see a lot of them in the market anymore, but I want people to know that they're out there. But for the most part, people will do voice recognition devices, smart speakers. What does that enable you to do? Lights, music, you can read books, it'll read your book out loud. Control all your electronics, your TV, your DVD, your cable, lock and unlock the door. Why is that important? Well, as the disease progresses, you might have more and more people come into the home, whether or not that's home health aides, therapists, things like that. And you can be in control of letting them in and out. You can use a Ring doorbell or a Nest doorbell. You can see who's at the door. You can say, yep, I'm letting them in. And it gives you control about who's entering your home. And smart speakers do require Wi-Fi. If there's somebody on this call that doesn't have Wi-Fi, that wants more information about smart home technology, let me know. It's called Z-Wave technology, but it's not something I wanted to cover tonight because it's for a very small market. So your smart speaker can control your automatic door, garage door opener, if that's what you have. Your fans, it can do your lights, can do everything. And you can take it in chunks. In the past, when you bought a smart home or device, it came with every bell and whistle under the sun, whether or not you were going to use it or not, and it cost $10,000. So now you can say, okay, I'm going to buy a $100 smart speaker, and I just want to control the fan in my room. Okay, you can do that for $125. Or I want to control the light, this light behind me. A smart bulb is $35. So you don't necessarily need to go all out unless you want to. I have a lot of people who just want a thermostat because they're alone sometimes during the day and it gets hot and they want to be able to adjust the air conditioner, or vice versa, they get cold. You can do whatever you want. So I'm going to transition into emergency preparedness. And because we're talking about the home, this is where it goes. You're in your lovely home, but how do you get out of your home in the event of an emergency? As Joumana mentioned in my introduction, 28 years here, locally within the Philadelphia market, I've had 5 people with ALS have a fire in their home. And so how are you going to get out in the event of a fire or in the event of a natural disaster? So the most rudimentary devices are here, evacuation aids. This is a tarp. You basically put the person with a disability in the tarp, you strap them in, and you pull them like a burrito. Is it ideal? No. Does it get you out of the house? Yes. And that's important. If you're dealing with a small person, they have a backpack. You have an evacuation tarp aid chair that has 4 handles. So this is a 2-person, this one here, it is a 2-person device. There are emergency evacuation chairs, and they have 2 categories: non-electric, meaning non-motorized, and then motorized. You'll see these chairs everywhere. I see them at airports and schools and any place that has steps, places of worship. So the idea is you put the person in and there's these little tracks here, and basically you roll them down the steps. But it does require the caregiver to be driving and being in control and being able to utilize the device. Now, this is an evacuation chair. Again, this is designed for 2 people, 1 person here, 1 person here. And they make motorized evacuation chairs, and they're also now being labeled as mobile stair lifts. And these have motors so that the only thing the caregiver is doing is guiding the chair. The motor is doing all the work. So I have 2 quick videos to show you. This is one with a track. You can see here, it almost looks like a tank at the bottom. And then the motor is embedded here. So you could see the motor under his here. And then this is one of the newer models. And notice this is a curved staircase that they're going up. Again, the caregiver is just guiding. The motor's doing all the work. Now, the issue with using a mobile stair lift, whether it's the one I just showed you or, oh, sorry. Trying to get back to my previous slide. Nope. Not there. Sorry. The issue is you're going to have to transfer this person at the bottom of the staircase into, I mean, you can use this as a transport chair, but if you were bringing them down the steps and their motorized power wheelchair was down here, you have to do a transfer. There is a device that will take a manual chair up a set of stairs. This is not designed for power because it cannot take the weight, but it takes a manual wheelchair up the steps. It is important for emergency preparedness to have a go bag. I can't stress this enough. Take a bag, an old canvas bag, a backpack, and have it near the entrance or the exit that you most often use, right? This is a bag that you would grab if you had a call for first responders and your loved one was going to the hospital. This is a bag that you would grab if you live in an area that is vulnerable to environmental upsets, where you might have to evacuate. So in your go bag, this is what FEMA has recommended. Customize it all you want, but you should have a copy of your insurance card, medical cards with any ALS specific information. And I'm sorry, I traveled here, so I couldn't bring my go bag, but my go bag that I use, for example, the first sheet you pull out says, Elisa says yes, no, and maybe bye. And it says yes, looking to the left, no, looking to the right, and maybe looking up to the ceiling. All right. So I give people commands of how I say yes, no, and maybe. If you are nonverbal, have a letter board in there, have a picture board. If you can write, put a tablet in there with your favorite pen. You might want to have a list of your medications. Think about this. Your loved one is going to the ER and you need to give the ER personnel every information that would be needed for this person. So how they communicate, don't lay me flat. I can't be laid flat. I have a feeding tube. Do not put a pill in my mouth. Anything that you think that they should know. I tell people, put a phone charger in there. Go to Five Below, whatever. Get a charger, put it in there, and vow never to take it out. All right. So have a charger for each phone. If you have somebody, again, this is more about who might have to leave for environmental issues, but if they have a feeding tube, have a couple of cans of nutrition, because if you go to a shelter, they're not going to have enteral nutrition there for you. So customize your go bag as you want, but this is a tool that everyone should use to prepare for the event of having to leave the home in an emergent situation. With that, if you have questions, you can email, text, call. Everything is listed here, and I'll be happy to take questions.
Wow, how wonderful. Thank you so much, Elisa, for such an informative and practical presentation. Your insights on planning ahead and making the home a safer environment, more accessible space are invaluable. I want to say I appreciate especially that you're looking into the Illinois laws to see what can be done for our audience. So this was an added plus, so we thank you for that. I know our attendees are walking away with a greater sense of what's possible and how to get started.
And I will also send you my slides. So if anyone wants them, contact Joumana. But when we're done here, I'm just going to hit email and send.
So we have a few more minutes for questions. I'm not seeing anything that came in through the Q&A, but I did have a couple of questions that came through before. So
Sure.
I can go ahead with those if that's okay.
Absolutely.
One of the questions I had is, what are the most common gaps you see in emergency plans for individuals with ALS?
Most common gaps. Not having a go bag.
Yeah, okay.
And the idea that if something does happen, my caregiver will tell the team what's going on. What happens if something happens to your caregiver and you're the one that needs to call for help with your caregiver, and then nobody knows what your needs are because you don't have a go bag, because you haven't documented how to communicate with you, that you have trouble breathing, that you are using a non-invasive ventilator 6 hours a day. So the other thing that I should have mentioned this, I should have put something in, because this happened recently, and it does regard emergency preparedness. I had a male person with ALS at home, He was, you know, wheelchair user, could not speak, but the wife left to go shopping. She unfortunately had a cardiac arrest in the grocery store, and nobody knew he was home alone. So we have talked to our caregivers now about putting a wallet card or something that says, my loved one is home alone. All right. I've talked to my team. We might even develop like a keychain. I don't know. We're thinking about all this. Somebody said maybe a wrist, like a silicone wristband. Loved one. I don't know. Somebody's at home alone. But I mean, I've thought about it, but I hadn't thought about it. So thankfully, once they got her list of contacts and then her children were notified, Dad's home by himself. But still, that was a matter of hours. It wasn't 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
yeah, thinking about those kind of situations, the out of the box, but also just I'm a pragmatic person. I prepare for the worst. So I think that's when it comes to this disease, yeah, I mean, sometimes we have to prepare for the worst. And the other thing I want to mention is, gosh forbid, I hope never, that we have another pandemic. If you remember, during COVID, the height of COVID, caregivers were not allowed in the hospital. So you have to prepare for that. What if my caregiver can't come with me? So that go bag has all the information that they need.
And communication boards for people.
Yes, absolutely. Letter boards, picture boards, whatever you want to put in there.
Yeah. Thank you so much. This is great. So I have a question that came through from Michelle. If you cannot stand or walk, but can slide on a toilet seat, how can you prevent the seat from sliding? I hope we're not talking about those clip-on risers.
Are you, I don't know if they're talking about their buttocks slipping off. The seat?
I'm assuming, how can you prevent the seat from sliding? It sounds like the toilet seat is sliding. So I'm trying to imagine this is probably a clip-on toilet riser.
Yes, yeah, and we don't recommend them. Yeah.
Recommend them, yes.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a seat lift, a seat riser. So it goes on top of the toilet. It has these 2 bars and it clips on the bottom. Unfortunately, anything that clips, that like that or suction cup grab bars, we never recommend them.
Yep. I always remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have one more question and I probably should let you go. When adapting a home, what are the top 3 modifications we recommend starting with, especially with family with limited budget?
Right. So I say do a safety assessment, and where you feel the least safe is where you start. So, for example, say I'm not feeling safe climbing the 2 steps in the garage. Okay, so if you put rails next to the step, would that help? Yes, it would. So that's what you do first, a grab bar, a rail, or what? And then maybe move on to a ramp. Or if you feel getting on the toilet is unsafe, because bathroom safety, again, 80% of the falls that happen in this country. So if you feel that you are not safe in the bathroom, then you focus there. So it really does require to do a self-assessment. I've had a lot of fights about people in throw rugs. People love their throw rugs. But you know what happens with a throw rug? If you have gait problems, it gets caught up in your feet. So if you're having walking difficulty, look around and go, you know, that throw rug it's a hazard. I need to get rid of it. So there's no one right way to do this because this disease progresses differently with everybody. You need to do your own safety assessment and then work from there.
I have one more question. We have time for that, and then we're done. Where can the evacuation chairs, blankets be purchased? Would you have?
They're all online, except there are now some ramp dealers, like in my area, I have three different AmRamp offices. They provide my ramps. One of the offices is now selling the evacuation chair. So call around to some accessibility companies, ramping companies, and ask if they're selling the accessibility chair, the evacuation chair. If not, unfortunately, the majority of my folks buy them online and they take tutorials online through YouTube and everything else. It's an emerging market. There's a lot of controversy about it too. I'm not going to lie. People go, oh, it's not exactly safe. Well, but it's not exactly safe to be in a fifth floor walk up and not be able to get out of your home. So again, that balance. And I see what from the safety perspective, but I also see from the user perspective, they need to get to the doctor. They need to get out. And, you know, I was working with a gentleman in San Francisco. This was his life. He's on a fifth floor walk up. He can't afford to move. So he did the chair.
Well, that's all we have time for tonight. So thank you again, Elisa.
Oh, thank you.
Great presentation, practical recommendation and insight. Appreciate it. And to everyone who joined us tonight, thank you so much for taking the time out of your evening to be here. Whether
Yes.
living with ALS, supporting a loved one, or working in a professional role, your commitment to safety and preparedness is so important. If we didn't get to your questions today, please send it over via email and we'll be sure to follow up. We're also sending out a follow-up email with the key resources Elisa mentioned and a link to the recording. Also, if you have any need for home assessment or like any guidance, we're here for you. Just reach out to your care service coordinator and we can coordinate that. As a next step, we encourage you to review your own emergency preparedness plan and identify one small improvement you can make this week. If you'd like any individualized support, please feel free to reach out to us. And finally, we would love you to hear your feedback to help us improve future webinars. A quick survey will be sent to you along with the recording in the next couple of days. We would be grateful if you take a minute to complete it. Thanks again for joining us today. Stay safe, stay prepared, and take good care. We hope to see you at a future event. And thank you again, Elisa.
Oh, thank you.
And
Thanks.
enjoy your stay in beautiful Chicago.
Okay. Good night, all.
All right.